Flash cartridges have been around for a very long time and are potentially most commonly associated with the Game Boy line of consoles. But they do also exist for the NES, SNES, and rather controversially, even systems as modern as the Switch. But there's a new flash cart on the block, and this one is for another of Nintendo's hardware output, and it's none other than the best-selling handheld of all time, the Nintendo DS. So what exactly even is a flash cart, and how is this particular one any different to any of the others you can find on the market today? Well, let's take a look. This is the Easy Flash Parallel, created by Easy Flash and sent to us by Senko Games for the purposes of review. Effectively, this is literally just a Nintendo DS flash cart which works exactly the same as any other cart, such as the R4 or ones you'll find for extremely cheap on sites like AliExpress or Temu. The major difference here is that the build quality is much better, with it using a much higher quality plastic for its shell and it even being transparent, which makes it look pretty cool, just like me. Interestingly, the Parallel features a tiny FPGA chip, which might get you all excited due to how hyped up this technology is, but rather weirdly, this chip doesn't actually seem to currently do anything. This implies that a future update might add in some additional functionality, and so far, Easy Flash have actually been consistently updating the device and providing us with fixes for some initial issues that the cart had. So I guess it's not completely unreasonable to assume that they could be working on some pretty major stuff behind the scenes. The most obvious thing that we could maybe see is a way of playing Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games through the FPGA chip inside of the flash cart, which would give us much greater performance than we can get by emulating these systems on the DS via software. But whether this actually ever ends up happening remains to be seen. Of course, if you have an original model DS or even a DS Lite, then there is actually a slot which allows it to play GBA games natively anyway. But this slot was removed for the DSi, and even the DS systems with this slot couldn't play original Game Boy or Game Boy Color cartridges. So the official backwards compatibility in this area was a little bit lacking, and this all just makes the idea of an FPGA Game Boy and Game Boy Advance function on a DS cartridge all the more enticing. But for now, let's stop speculating on what this thing might be able to do in the future, and instead focus on what it can currently do and what the setting up process is like. For those of you that are brand new to flash carts, what they basically do is enable you to store hundreds of games on a single cartridge and trick your device into thinking that it's playing those games natively and officially. It's also not using emulation, which means that you're getting perfect performance like you would if you were playing with an official cartridge. Now, I'm very happy to report that the setting up process here is about as straightforward as you could get. All you need to do is have a spare micro SD card handy, format it to FAT32 using a PC, download the newest version of the Easy Flash Parallel front end from the website, plonk it onto the root of the micro SD, add in your legally obtained ROM files to a folder somewhere, and then slap that sucker into the flash cart, shove it into the DS, and away you go. Easy Flash do recommend that you only use a micro SD card with 32 gigs of storage or less, but this seems to just be a precaution because cards as big as 64 gig seem to work perfectly fine. The UI the Easy Flash Parallel uses is based on the Wood kernel, which is an open source front end used by the vast majority of these DS flash carts. Why exactly Easy Flash chose to create their own very slightly modified version, I'm not sure, but it appears to be almost identical to the standard version. This is actually a little bit of a shame in a way because I would have appreciated a more modern interface that just looks a bit slicker. However, because it's based on open source software, that means it's compatible with any user-created skins and themes which are created for the Wood kernel. So I guess that sort of makes up for this slightly unambitious UI. You can also choose to install a completely different UI like Twilight menu if you'd prefer that. But for this video, I want to stick to the software that Easy Flash have provided, considering that's kind of the authentic experience that they want you to have here. Now, if you literally just wanted to play your standard DS games, then at this point you'd be set up and ready to go. But these flash carts are actually capable of a lot more than this. The main reason you would want a flash cart outside of playing all of the DS games in your collection on a single cartridge is to access some pretty crazy homebrew stuff. People have somehow managed to get games like Doom, Quake, and even a modified version of Super Mario Galaxy working on the DS. And all of these are just a crazy thing to experience. You wouldn't think that any of this stuff would be able to run on the original DS hardware, but you know what these talented creators are like, they just won't rest until absolutely every device is capable of running Doom. Now if all of that doesn't impress you, then how about accessing emulators? There's working emulation software running on the DS for systems like the NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Atari 2600, and way more. And to think that the DS was capable of this and yet Nintendo themselves never took advantage of it is pretty insane. Remember too that you're not needing to hack your actual console in any way to access this stuff. You're literally just dragging and dropping files onto the micro SD, putting it in the cartridge, and loading it all off there. This makes it a really attractive option for people like me who don't normally like messing around with soft modding too much, but still want access to some of those awesome features that aren't available by official means. But bear in mind that all of this is actually possible on any standard flash cart, so what's actually special about this particular one? One of the main selling points here, beyond the much better build quality and visual appeal when you compare it to other cartridges, is the fact that this one doesn't have what's referred to as a time bomb. Lots of cheaper flash carts had this annoying function where after a set amount of time they would either stop working or have decreased performance, which was supposed to incentivize you to buy the new yearly model of the same cartridge. As far as I'm aware though, this practice isn't all too common with newer flash carts, but it is nice that Easy Flash guarantee that this isn't gonna happen when you buy their device. It also boasts what they refer to as a power saving design, and this is important because one of the main reasons you would have wanted to have gone for original cartridges over a flash cart is because flash cartridges were notorious for draining the battery of your console far faster than playing games normally. I did a little bit of a test in this area by leaving my DS on with the flash cart plugged in and running Mario Kart DS, and then I did the same thing for the same amount of time with the official game and found that there was barely any difference in battery level. So yeah, the Easy Flash Parallel does seem to be extremely good in this particular area, and I feel like this is probably one of the biggest reasons to buy this over similar alternatives. Something that I want to clarify is that on the website and promotional material for this flash cart and similar options, it tends to always state that it supports all DS and 3DS systems, and this is technically true. For a lot of this video you've been watching it being used on a 3DS, and this is simply because the 3DS has a bigger screen than my original DS does, which makes it easier to film. However, this doesn't mean that you can put 3DS ROMs on here and then play them on a 3DS. This is an original DS flash cart, but because of the 3DS's backwards compatibility with DS games, it means that it'll work on the 3DS, but work just like an original DS. I wonder how many times I've said DS in this video so far. I feel like I've said it a lot. But anyway, as far as I'm aware, the best flash cart for the 3DS is, well, just hacking your 3DS. There's no need for a flash cart because everything that would typically be made possible with a flash cart is done through the hacking process instead. I've actually done a video where I talk about what's possible with a hacked 3DS, and some of the stuff you can do is pretty crazy. So definitely check that out if you want to know more. I'll put a link to it in the description. But here's the thing, if you combine a DS flash cart with a hacked 3DS, you effectively have the ultimate all-in-one DS system with every game that you legally own at your fingertips. And it's all running completely natively with absolutely no emulation. Now don't get me wrong, emulation is obviously great, I love it just as much as the next person, and it makes playing games you've owned for years feel completely fresh, thanks to all of the different devices you can use menus and all of the upscaling options you have access to. But at the same time, I really do feel like there's nothing quite like playing games on original hardware, and I truly do think I can tell when things aren't being played natively. But this isn't an issue at all with a flash cart and hacking, because you're still playing the games on the hardware it was designed to work on originally. It just feels right. So, would I recommend the Easy Flash Parallel for all of your Nintendo DS needs? Well, yeah, I would. I'm giving the Easy Flash Parallel 8 dodos out of 10. It currently costs £23.99, which is approximately $30 if you get it from Senko Games, and while you can find much cheaper alternatives that might do the same job, I think that there's just enough going for this to make me suggest getting it over those other options. First off, the build quality is much better here and it's more visually pleasing in general. It also has the micro SD port on the side, which means it's completely secure when the cartridge is actually in your DS. Whereas most other alternatives have this micro SD port on the top of the cartridge, which means that you could theoretically accidentally remove it when playing a game, and risk losing save data or maybe even corrupting the game files. There's no time bomb mechanic here, which would render your new cartridge useless down the line, and they are actually doing updates to the software quite frequently, which suggests that they're listening to customer feedback. It also doesn't drain your console's battery life like crazy like some other flash carts do, which could be a huge benefit if you're travelling around a lot or don't want to be hooked up to a charger. The other major thing is that there is that FPGA chip inside that doesn't do anything yet. Now, this might turn out to be nothing and could just be something put there to cause a buzz of excitement, but if this does eventually mean that more systems are playable directly from the cartridge with no hacking required, then the Easy Flash Parallel would absolutely have the edge over the competition. Right now though, it's just a great Nintendo DS flash cart, probably the single best Nintendo DS flash cart that I've personally seen. But that doesn't mean that there's no room for improvement. I want to see these flash carts get pushed into a new era by having things like a sleeker and more modern UI for the software, and maybe somehow making it possible to have save states to make jumping in and out of games that much easier. It is also very slightly disappointing that it doesn't come with its own micro SD card by default, and you either need to pay extra for one or already have your own, but the main criticism I have is that at the end of the day, it is basically just the exact same product that we've seen a million times before. It's just that tiny bit better than the competition in what could be considered some minor areas. Now, if that FPGA chip comes into play later down the line, things might dramatically change. But for now, I would say that if you're new to DS flash carts and want to check out some homebrew or access your games in one handy cartridge, definitely check this out. A link to the product will be in the description. But what do you think of the Easy Flash Parallel? Have you used one of these DS flash carts before? And if so, has this particular one done enough to convince you to buy it? And if you've never used one before, then are you impressed by what they're capable of? Let me know. As always, give the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more retro goodness coming to your screens very, very soon, and I've been Rob from Retro Dodo, and I'll see you in the next one.